Well, I was 16 years old, and I was quite a wild child when I had a powerful conversion to Christianity. I was the product of a broken home life. My parents divorced when I was about 8 years of age. So I was pretty well raised by a single mum, and she worked hard and provided for her two sons, and I think sometimes she was quite overwhelmed. But she did the best she could, and she worked very, very hard to provide. Her name is Lula. That's my mum. And mum was always a believer in God. As far as what I remember and what I always knew, she was always religious. But she was constantly searching, constantly looking, as if there was something more and she hadn't found it. So as mum, as a mother, she simply could not control her two sons, who were myself and my brother, who, but now in their teens, were into drugs and a pretty wild way of living. And they didn't hang with the wrong crowd. They were the wrong crowd. I remember Mum saying to me, you know what your problem is? You hang around with all these with the wrong crowd. And I say, Mum, I'm the baddest of my crowd. I'm the worst. You ought to be telling their mothers not to let their kids hang around with us. I mean, we were fairly dysfunctional. I remember my brother riding his motorbike home from work, up the front stairs on his motorbike, down the hallway, still on his motorbike, and parked it in the living room. And there was nothing that Mum could do about it because she was completely out-muscled. I mean, I don't know how that works, but in our family, it came down to sheer physical strength. And we were stronger than her. She couldn't do a thing. She couldn't control us. They were pretty wild. Now, at that time, I had a cousin in England who was only 4 years old, and he passed away of cancer. In 1974, my mother went to send flowers overseas to the family there from a post office in West End in Brisbane. And the guy who worked at the post office was a Greek guy, and my mum's Greek, right? So, they struck up a conversation, as Greeks do, but this guy was like a full-on Christian, and, had a relationship with God that he was pretty zealous about, and he told my mum about Jesus, and he invited her to his church. Now, she didn't go, but 6 months later, she went to a different post office on the other side of town. And who was there serving? Yep, the same guy, the same Greek guy. So they got talking. They kind of, became friends. And he again and told her about God. And she finally went to church. And she did. She went to this guy's church. And all I can say is she came home that day profoundly changed. After that, it was on for young and old in our household as Mum preached to us about Jesus and the church, and she drove me and my brother absolutely to the point of desperation. As she would say things to me like, "You long hairs of the devil," and I would see red. I didn't like it at all, and we fought like cats and dogs, and finally I contemplated even leaving home over that. But then I kind of thought, then I'd have to cook for myself and clean, and iron my own shirts. But I did contemplate it. I did. But instead, I made an agreement with my mother. I said, Mum, this has got to stop. Otherwise, I'm going to get very close to clocking you. So I'm going to go to your church one time, but you've got to promise me you'll never talk about God, Jesus, the church, and all that stuff again. And my long hair is not of the devil. But I'll go once to this church. And she promised, and she lied. That's right, she did. But I did. I went to church with her for one reason, and that was to stop my mother nagging. Instead, I had a powerfully real encounter with God that changed the course of my entire life. That day in January 1975. I found God because of my mother and because of her prayers and because of her constant chatter. And God had his way in that, well, he just kind of used the situation as it was, but my life was powerfully changed and I met God. And all I can tell you was I wasn't searching, I wasn't looking, I wasn't out there looking for God. But I found God was looking for me, and my life completely changed as I began a relationship with Jesus that was so unbelievably real. I could not deny it. And my life changed so much.